A while back, a friend of mine was working on sort of a mid-century modern style nightstand, and he asked for some help with modeling this leg. And recently he's decided to revisit this design, and he wanted to make some changes. So he shortened up the little part that sticks out. I suppose that thing has a name, but I have no idea what it is. And instead of being tapered up the back like this, he wants the same curve on the other side. And he was wondering about an easy way to do that. And so I thought this was kind of a neat exercise because it's a pretty quick thing to do. So the first thing is we've got the pattern here, and I've omitted the stepped section at the top. That'll be easier to do later. And I've got this thing as, well, new leg pattern, and I'm going to make a copy of that over here to keep for later use. And I'm going to go ahead and just make this one unique. That way we've got a pattern that we could print out at full size to make a template or whatever we need to do here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy. Let's see, we'll push the up arrow key there to lock that direction. I'm going to make a copy of the profile and just rotate it around, and I'm working on the axis and at the origin. I'm working around that blue axis. The idea is that that gives me a fixed reference point no matter what I do to my geometry. I've got some place in space that is fixed. And then since this one is selected, I'll just go ahead and open that for editing. And I'm going to push it through this way, and then I'm going to push it this way. And so now I've got two components, and the amount that I pushed it isn't critical as long as the geometry goes a bit beyond the other copy of this thing. But now I'm going to make one of these unique. Doesn't matter which one I do. And I'm going to use, in fact, I'll drag this out here for a moment. I'm going to use the intersection tool from Bool Tools 2. This extension, I've talked about the trim feature in it and some others. This extension does what the native solid tools in SketchUp Pro does, except that it keeps components as components, and it will work in SketchUp Make. So I'm going to get that tool, and I'm going to click on that one and that one. And so now I've cut the leg. This is kind of like taking it to the bandsaw and cutting those two shapes. And I'm going to go ahead and put that back because I'm done with it. One thing I want to do is the component's origin does end up getting shifted, and I don't want it there, so I'm going to right click and choose change axes, and I'm going to put that, oops, wrong place. We hit escape, change axes. Let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. Along the red, along the green, blue takes care of itself. All right, and then we need to radius the outside edge. So I'll select that edge, and then I'm using Freddo Corner, the round feature. You could also use Freddo's round corner, or you could draw the radius manually and use at the top and push it down to the bottom. But this works really well, and I'm going to set the radius to 3/4 of an inch. And I'm actually going to set the number of segments down for this one to 12 because we don't really need it to be 24. And I'll click. And there's the leg radiused. Now the next thing is that little shoulder on the top. And what I'm going to do here is, again, open this for editing, and I want to take these edges. Now this curve, you see that for whatever reason this radius is exploded, and so I'm going to double click on that face to select all of the edges and the face, and then I'm going to hold shift, deselect that edge, deselect, or that face, deselect that edge and that one, so that just leaves me with those edges. And then I'm going to use TIG weld, and I've got a keyboard shortcut for that. By the way, all of these extensions will be linked in the post, in the blog post text. So now with that selected, I'm going to use offset, and keyboard shortcut for that. I'm going to come in 1/4 of an inch, and then P for push pull, and I'll pull that up 5/8, and the shoulder is done, and that leg is complete except for the mortises that you'd end up putting in, or yeah, I suppose mortises for dominoes or whatever it is, however the joinery is going to be done. So there are the 2 legs, and again we've got the pattern that we could set up for printing and print full size. And just to give you a look at the piece as it sits right now, there's the leg in the model, and he's all set to go.